Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get-together live here on Facebook, where we take a look at headlines from our city, state, and country. We take a look at your comments, ideas, and suggestions. We combine all this information and put it to good use as a community of English-speaking locals living here in Puerto Vallarta. It is a pleasure to greet you this morning. Today is Wednesday, September 13. Today is National Niños Héroes Day. Today we honor the 6 cadets that plunged into the abyss to protect the well-being of our castle, Chapultepec Castle in Mexico City. But did they actually plunge, or did they not? That is one of the mysteries that we're going to tackle today as we unpack this important Mexican celebration. But even before we go there, I want to welcome everyone to Coffee and Headlines. I've been so happy getting ready for Mexican independence, not so much for the celebrations themselves, but for my music appreciation presentation, which is tomorrow. I've come to realize that the older I get, the more patriotic I become, the more proud I become of my heritage and my country. So I've been spending a lot of time weeping, getting excited about the music that we're going to present tomorrow. But that's not today. That is tomorrow. Today, I welcome everyone, particularly those of you that are watching live for the first time. If that is you, feel free to let us know by writing the word new in your comment. We'll be so very happy to give you a nice little welcome. And of course, if there's something really important that you're thinking of that you wish to share with us, you can add a capital letter Q at the beginning of your comment, just as Luisa has done here. 10:30, my favorite time of the day. Well, it is a very favorite time of the day for me as well. It is great to see you, Luisa, and I look forward to seeing you later on in the season. And Betsy Ann is coming tomorrow to the presentation. That makes me so very happy. Betsy is a very enthusiastic, frequent flyer to my music appreciation presentation, so it'll be great to see you tomorrow. What else? Well, let's just dive into the news so that we can continue with the rest of our day. And we start with a reminder that Mayor Michel will deliver his annual Informe, or State of the Municipality address, tomorrow at La Lija at 6 p.m. He'll have a formal ceremony in the morning at City Hall. Then at 6 p.m. he will read his address for the city, or in front of an audience. This is his penultimate address, and the event will also include a massive celebration. The mayor was recently asked what was his most accomplishment to date, and his reply was security. We'll break down his talking points after the event on Friday or Saturday. We've mentioned an ongoing COVID-19 vaccination campaign for children a couple of times here at Coffee and Headlines, but it's also worth remembering that COVID-19 vaccines for adults will be available during the winter season in Mexico. along with flu shots. And finally, Mexico's own Patria, it is called. Mexico's own Patria COVID-19 vaccine will finally become available. It is estimated that some 25 million people will receive a COVID-19 vaccine in the winter, and priority will be given to people ages 60 or older, yay, pregnant women, people with comorbidity, and health personnel. And I have some good news. After a number of reports about increasing crime along the Pitillal Riverside Walkway over the past few months, the city is finally increasing vigilance there using motorcycles that go from one end to the other 24 hours a day, according to Police Commissary Rigoberto Flores Parra. Residents, of course, are always encouraged to dial 911 should they witness any suspicious activity taking place along the walkway or anywhere else in the city for that matter. And this should make those folks living in Colonia Aramara very happy. Colonia Aramara residents were surprised to learn that the tiny park located across the street from the IMSS clinic is getting a beauty makeover. Although the area is not very large, the green area is frequently used, as it is also located right next to the Aramara Municipal Market. Reporters from Tribuna de la Bahía went ahead and asked, how long will this take to get done? And some of the construction crew said that they will be completing the upgrade to the little park in about a month or two. Yay. Little by little, the city is addressing everything that needs to be addressed. It's always a laundry list that is never ending, but it's nice to see the reports on new areas being fixed up. And now let's take a look at our weather forecast. A snarky weatherman says, rest in peace, Lightning Port. Of course, this has everything to do with the announcement of the new iPhones, which are going to be using a USB-C port moving forward. Apparently, Apple lost a legal suit in Europe, which pretty much had them revamp all their plugs for the new phones. But that is neither here nor there. Here, we're concerned about the weather, and the weather is 30 degrees right now. Our temperature in Fahrenheit degrees is 86 degrees. Humidity is at 66% at present time. And our weather forecast for today says mostly clear skies in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 50%, a high of 32 and a low of 25. Tomorrow, Thursday, mostly cloudy skies in the morning with rain in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 50%, a high of 32 and a low of 24. Then Friday, we will have mostly cloudy skies in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 75% and a high of 32 and a low of 25. And that is our weather forecast for today. I'm already schwitzing. I wonder why. It's going to be a humid day. Okay, so next in our agenda is our presentation on the Niños Héroes, or the martyr cadets. Let me see, where is my Mexican music? Do I have Mexican music ready? Let's try this. Lovely. And we turn it down. Okay, are you ready? Let's do this. Okay, let me switch over to my... There you go. So today is Niños Héroes Day, or Child Heroes Day. So it's a good time to revisit this curious chapter of Mexican history. Of course, you may not know it, but these cadets are everywhere. They can be found in our currency, in our bills. There are colonias named Niños Héroes all over the country. And there are streets and colonias named after each of the 6 hero cadets. They are very, very popular. There is even a subway station in Mexico City named Niños Héroes. But who were they and why are they so important? Well, let's roll back the time clock to September 13, 1847. In 1847, keep in mind that this is 37 years after the Mexican independence began. So this is not at all related to the Mexican independence. It just happened to take place close to the date in which we celebrate the Mexican independence, which of course started in 1810 and ended in 1821, 11 years later. So back to 1847. At this time in Mexico's history, there are American forces in Mexico invading and attempting to take over this strategic location called Chapultepec Castle, which is located just outside of Mexico City at the time. Of course, today, Chapultepec Castle is right in the middle of everywhere. But at the time, it was a big castle located just outside of Mexico City. How challenging was the battle? Well, it was approximately 2,000 U.S. forces versus 880 Mexican forces. So in Mexican history, the battle is cast as the story of the brave death of 6 cadets, the Niños Héroes, who leaped to their deaths rather than be taken captive. One even wrapped himself in a Mexican flag before leaping to his death. What were their names? Well, they were called Francisco Márquez, Agustín Melgar, Fernando Montes de Oca, Vicente Suárez, Juan Escutia, who was the one who wrapped himself with the Mexican flag, and Juan de la Barrera. If these names sound familiar, again, it is because their names are frequently used in streets and colonias throughout the whole country. Now, the narrative that they plunged to their deaths became a way that Mexico could begin to grapple with the country's defeat in the United States invasion. But monuments to the boy martyrs were not actually built until Mexico had fought the War of the Reform between 1857 and 69, and then after Mexico expelled the Second French Empire between 1862 and 67. So there is a modest site next to the castle that indicates the place where the 6 martyr boys supposedly fell. That's where they landed, right next to Chapultepec Castle. It wasn't until 1872, 25 years after the battle, that President Benito Juárez signed a decree to honor the Niños Héroes so that their memory would not be forgotten. He did this shortly before his death, so the legend of the Niños Héroes grew bigger and bigger through time. The original cenotaph, which is a monument honoring dead people, but their bodies are not necessarily there, was built in 1881, 34 years after the battle. It was designed by Ramon Rodriguez, one of the cadets that was captured during the Chapultepec battle. Now, let us fast forward to March 5th of March, 1947. This is 100 years after the battle. U.S. President Harry S. Truman placed a wreath at the cenotaph and stood for a few moments of silent reverence. And this is where the plot thickens. He was asked by American reporters why he had gone to the monument. And Truman said, "Brave men don't belong to any one country. I respect bravery wherever I see it." Now, that was a beautiful phrase, but then he also said something else that rattled everyone's cage in Mexico. He said, 1 century of resentment goes away with 1 minute of silence. What? So President Truman claimed, well, I'm just going to stand here and have a moment of silence, a minute of silence, and everything is taken care of. Well, this did not go very well with Mexico. Mexico hated that. Cadets of the military college took the wreath, mangled it, and begrudgingly left it at the door of the U.S. Embassy. Not a nice thing to do. So the Truman incident rattled politicians throughout Mexico at every level. Miguel Alemán Valdez, who was president at the time, was the one who decided, well, we must honor the Niños Héroes appropriately, and to do so, we must find their remains, identify them, and put them in an appropriate memorial. Now, let us think about this for a second. During the war, the dead were quickly buried for sanitary reasons near where they fell, so that there were the remains of about 600 cadets and soldiers in Chapultepec Park. So several sites were excavated, and it's not like they were, identified before they were buried. So a mass grave was found on the southern hillside of Chapultepec Hill, and 6 bodies were officially identified as belonging to the 6 deceased cadets of 1847, but a later investigation alleged that the people found numerous skeletons, but only chose the smallest from the soil. Why the smallest? Well, because these were supposed to be teenage cadets. The legend said that they were children, but they were actually teenagers. You see this beautiful monument? This was not built until 1952, and we don't actually know if there are any remains under it, or whether the remains actually belong to the original 6 cadets or not. More than likely, that is not the case. Now, you may ask yourselves, what actually happened to the Niños Héroes? Well, Juan de la Barrera, who was 19, he fell from the castle. Juan Escutia, who was 20 and who allegedly wrapped himself in the flag, he was chased and shot. Francisco Marquez, age 14, was chased and shot. Agustin Melgar, age 17, was wounded and he died a few days later. Fernando Montes de Oca, who was 18, was chased and shot. And Vicente Suarez, who was 14, was chased and shot. So, as you see, so much for the legend of the Niños Héroes. It was something that was fabricated to keep Mexican spirits alive, but for whatever reason or whatever it's worth, it is more of a myth than anything else. Now, if there are any school teachers that are going to throw tomatoes at me right now, be my guest. This is what researchers say. And this brings us to our chit-chat section. So let us see what's going on. Let me bring the sound level up for our chit-chat song. There you go. So much for legends. We have good mornings and good afternoons. Thank you so very much for those. So great to see you. Claude, my dear, I am so looking forward to seeing you and Lucas tomorrow at the presentation. That's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see what else is going on. I'm looking for cues. Ben says, I wish that I was in Puerto Vallarta for Mexican Day Independence presentation. As I've said before, Ben, we can always anchor these presentations whenever you're in town. It's just a matter of coordinating. Let's see what else. Oh dear. Paco, have you seen the movie Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe? Take a muffin and bring tissue. It's a cry fest. No, I haven't seen it, but I'll definitely look for it. Thank you very much for the recommendation. Da-dee-da-doo-da-da. There's another cue. Thanks, Paco, for another fantastic historical story. You really make the stories come alive and give us historical context. It's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. Param pam 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 pam. This doesn't have a cue, but it's definitely worth mentioning. The Chapultepec Castle is amazing, a must-see when in Mexico City. I totally agree. It's a beautiful place. Let's see. Da-da-da-da-da-da. What else do we have? I think we are done. Oh, there's another one here. Is it the same battle where Americans hired Irish men to help them, and then later the Irish turned against them and fought in the side of Mexico, and that is why we celebrate the day of San Patricio? I might be confused. Well, this question confused me. And my answer is I have no idea, Angelica. But isn't it wonderful that we have Google to answer these questions? So I might Google this, but you may want to Google it yourself as well, so that we can then compare some notes. And this, of course, brings us to the end of today's broadcast. I thank you for keeping me company on this very important day. Remember that tomorrow is National Charro Day. If you are in town, you're going to have a wonderful time taking a look at all the charros parading downtown, and it'll be a great, great, great time. And for the rest of us, well, we have things to do. We have lectures to put together and other things. But I'm happy to see you, and I hope I will get to see you again sometime in the near future. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.